The Avengers.
That's what we call ourselves. Earth's mightiest heroes.
I have an army.
We have a Hulk.
All right, so we are back with episode 5. Wow, episode 5 already of King in Black. So this is Venom 31. This is legacy number 196 of the Venom series. Fast approaching 200, and by the time Venom is over, or by the time King in Black is over, we're going to get pretty close to Venom 200. So, with all of that being said, I picked up 3 variants to dive into. This one being one of my absolute favorites. That look on Null, kind of getting a close-up of this. And then the nullified variant, just absolutely phenomenal. So let's dive into what happened in this amazing book. So when King in Black last left off, it was with that 32 seconds of our famous anti-hero Eddie Brock falling off of a building. We had just seen Null rip the symbiote away from him, and we're diving into this crazy fall and what is going to happen. So this whole book takes place in that 32 seconds with a few flashbacks, and then also we see some different things that are happening while Eddie is falling. Alright, so first things first, we start off with Rex Strickland at his warehouse. And if you don't know who Rex Strickland is, Rex is a guy who was bonded with the Venom symbiote, and he was he was pinned down by a Viet Cong sniper in 1966. He chose to sacrifice himself for his squad and was just completely riddled with bullets, and that's why you see this scar on his face, because of the napalm that ended up burning him. So he's making this video to basically show and tell everyone that he's dead. This is like his final message. And we end up seeing that he's guessing that if he's dead, so is someone else. And that other person is someone that he knows who currently was hanging on to the Venom symbiote as much as he was. So he's assuming that Eddie Brock is dead, and he kind of jumps to this mission that he sends Eddie on and Venom on. A few hours ago, I sent him on a mission to save some of my old friends, and that was, if you want to look back, you can go back to Venom number 1, True Believers. But that's neither here nor there. This is just kind of Rex talking, and then us seeing a picture about the Carnage horde that we saw in Absolute Carnage. But now we jump to the fall. So this is that 32 seconds that I was talking about. And in that 32 seconds, we're going to see Dylan, we're going to see Null, we're going to see Venom, we're going to see Eddie. We're going to see all of this kind of coming together and leading us into King in Black 2. And the look on Null's face is just amazing. And you have Venom right next to him, basically screaming at Null to give him back to Eddie, and that Eddie needs him. And to kind of get some context, Rex was basically saying that Flash Thompson was a Venom with some training, some strategy, some know-how, and that Eddie strikes him as someone who tends to fall headlong into his problems, and that he would probably end up falling like the rest of us. So again, we see Eddie on this descent. Null and Eddie start having a conversation, and you see that same symbol on Venom's face. Null and Venom are talking to each other, and as Rex is saying, it's been hours since I sent Brock on a mission to save my brothers. And Null says, now, little one. Don't fight this. And Venom is begging Null not to be taken. And Null says, you and I have met before, yes? We've been through this. You can't fight me. Please, your host has always held you back, my child. So that's something that we don't really get into in this comic, and it's very interesting. It's a weird but interesting conversation that Venom and Null end up having with each other. And it's really amazing that all of this is kind of happening in this 32-second time span. I really like the way that Donny Cates played this story out and wrote this story, because you get a close-up of Venom just saying, he, and you see Eddie falling, needs me. So we're kind of trying to understand what is the need for Eddie and Venom to be together. Why is this so important? Obviously, we know that they've bonded together, that Eddie doesn't really understand as much because he is human, but truly, there is this amazing connection between the two of them. One that we have pretty much never seen between a symbiote and a person. Obviously, Cletus Cassidy and Carnage have had a really great bond, but they're both insane. Venom and Eddie really have this understanding for each other and really create this amazing anti-hero. Even Flash Thompson doesn't show us the best of Venom. It's truly brought out when Eddie Brock has been on the pages of Venom. And you can say that's just the writing, that's just this or that, but truly, you can see the bond between these characters. So, we then cut to Rex saying in these little boxes, I fear the mission and my friends are lost. And you see Eddie falling into this completely nullified, venomized, symbiote-ridden New York City landscape, and Null saying to Venom, who he's still carrying, do not cry, do not mourn him, he is nothing, you are home now. This world is ours. And it's really amazing to see Venom not wanting to be a part of this symbiote horde. Obviously, there's something more at play, and we're going to learn more about that. But I want to know more about Venom and Null. I want to know more about what is happening there, because they're keeping that card very close to the vest right now. And we know that Null is not looking for Eddie, and that's why he ripped Venom away. We know that Null is looking for Dylan. But what is so important about Eddie right now? Why are we still so focused on Eddie in a story that Null has already said, you don't matter. You are not important in this. So, we continue with this amazing fall, and as he's falling, we're seeing Rex and Eddie talking. So Rex, I'm going to go through that first, and I begin to question what I have done, trusting this man I have never met and know nothing about. That's the heart of it all, of this, though, isn't it? On the inside, who is Eddie Brock? And of course, Eddie, help, please, I can't feel you. Please don't let me die alone. And Eddie's scared out of his wits right now. So scared, in fact, that he actually starts to pray. Listen, I know we haven't talked in a while, and I'm not asking you for help I know I don't deserve, especially not from you. But please, I am begging you, make sure my son is okay. You and me, we've always had our differences, but Dylan, he doesn't deserve to inherit my... And we cut to this. With all of this insanity going on, darkness. So again, Rex, it's very interesting that they bring Rex up in this. I'm going to get to that because there's an interesting picture that I found that I'm going to share with you that is a huge spoiler, but I want you to see it. But we'll get to that in a minute. Basically, right now we're seeing the aftermath of Null taking over and what Eddie is actually falling into right now. So some of you might be thinking, wow, obviously the symbiote fluid is going to catch him the same way that it seems to be catching everyone else, or a dragon's going to catch him, or he's going to be saved. We don't know, and it's amazing that Eddie is truly praying right now. We don't really know who Eddie's praying to. We can obviously guess that it's the Christian God, being his mother was Catholic, but we never know. He did say that he lost his connection. He could be trying to pray to something else and someone else. So let's keep that in the back of our mind just in case. We want to dive into that later on in the story. And then we cut to this amazing image. And this is just New York City completely nullified. And Rex Strickland saying that Eddie falls off the face of the earth the same way that he's falling right now. Rex is comparing this fall, even though he doesn't know it's happening, but the way that the story is being told is this fall is being compared to the fall when Eddie Brock just completely ruined his career, which is a very amazing way to compare and to show this newfound understanding. We then jump to Dylan, and Dylan does this amazing thing where he tries to connect, and he ends up connecting via a radio that Spider-Man gave to him through an encrypted line to Iron Man. So he's having a conversation with Iron Man. Obviously, Iron Man's not too proud to hear him. He says, just stay there, leave it be, stay in the bunker, you'll be fine, and then the line goes dead. Click. And Dylan, of course, being upset and pissed off that no one's really understanding what's going on. So what does Dylan go and do? But, of course, connect. So he says, can you hear me? It's Dylan. Can you? And we get a call back from Venom. That's Venom's storyboard speech bubble. Dylan, no, disconnect yourself from the hive. He'll find you. And Dylan, in pain, says, what's going on? Venom screaming at him now, Dylan, get out! They threw me out, severed my connection. But why? What did they not want me to see? And live on TV, Dylan sees his father fall, sees everything that's happening, and we jump back to Eddie. This is what I'm talking about, this amazing storytelling of really diving into this 32 seconds as deep as possible. So this right here all happened before the fall, which is amazing because we can see the different details, the different stories that are all happening at the same time. Someone asked me, how did they fit one fall into a whole comic book and still make it last? This is how. They had the Dylan story. They had Eddie's story. They dove into Rex Strickland. They showed us what was happening while he was falling. It was all amazing and wonderful storytelling. So we jump back. Dylan's wondering what's going on, and Eddie's still trying to be the hero. He pushes off of this building, tries to save this pilot, and Rex asking, why do you care so much for the innocent? Now he's a good guy in San Francisco trying to protect people. Maybe that's the real story of Edward Allan Brock, the man of 1,000 second chances. So will this be his last second chance? That's what we're gonna find out, and that's the amazing part of this story. So we dive into this. We can see the heroic nature, him diving through this failing, nullified city, just completely unaware of truly everything that's been going on around him, is he's been completely severed from Venom, and he knows that something is wrong. He tells this pilot that she can't outrun the symbiote dragon, and boom, this helicopter's taken down. The dragon rips the back off of it. Eddie gets thrown by the explosion, being called all the while by Rex the comeback king, which we know him to be. And this is where our story ends. Him falling into an alleyway, hitting every fire escape on the way down. We see that symbiote fluid around him, but none of it's attaching to him. And that's a very interesting part of our story. He's fallen past a lot of symbiote fluid at this point. None of it has touched him. That is very interesting. That shows how much Null is afraid of Eddie having a symbiote attached to him. That's what that's kind of showing me right now. That Null knows the power that Eddie has, and the fact that Null is trying to convince Venom that Eddie's been holding him back when we know that to not truly be true, says that there's something else at play here. That yes, he is there for Dylan, but at the same time, what is going to make Eddie so powerful? What is going to happen next? How is Eddie going to get Venom back and defeat this god, and just the god of darkness, the King in Black? What is going to happen? And we see him fall and hit a car, and Rex leaves us with, he's just another man wearing his own coffin. So Rex knows that pretty much having the symbiote on you, knowing what was going to happen, knowing everything, seeing everything, knowing that Eddie didn't know what was coming at the very beginning of all of this, and Rex truly did, made him realize that honestly, it's a death sentence to be connected to a symbiote in Rex's eyes. The fact that he said at the very beginning of this, those brief moments that we saw him talking on that encrypted line where he typed in his password, saying that the only person who probably ever hear this was probably already dead, and he knew that it was Eddie, was going to basically be the same fate as the amazing Tyrannosaurus of Vietnam. And we jump to the King in Black number 2, pictured right here. We don't see a lot going on, but just the heroes in of himself. Thing, Cap, looks like Venom right here, Doctor Strange. Honestly looks, can't quite tell who that is. And then we've got Spider-Man, obviously. All of this happening at once. We have Black Cat number 1 coming out this week, Symbiote Spider-Man King in Black number 2 coming out this week, and then next week, right before Christmas, we have King in Black number 2. And honestly, this is going to be amazing. I'm very excited for it, but before you sign off, I told you that I had something special to show you, something that was not in this issue. Something that came out in a different issue that kind of shows and hints to a certain someone. So we believed that Rex Strickland was dead. That since we were watching that video, he's deceased. The Tyrannosaurus had taken over. But who does this look like right here? Let's talk about that in the comments below. Let's talk about that on our Friday live stream. That is going to be very instrumental, I believe, in Venom 32 as they fight off this symbiote horde And it shows us that somehow Eddie is going to get Venom back, but what will happen as a result? That is the key. That is something that's very interesting. And my hope is that this is Tyrannosaurus in the flesh, ready to fight alongside with Venom, because Eddie Brock is about to face the biggest challenge of his life, but he's not alone. And why would you bring Rex Strickland into this if you're not going to use him? Donny Cates knows how to use characters the right way, and this is the right way to bring him back to our excellent forefront and have him mean something, and then once again have him play this major role. So again, for those of you who don't know a lot about Rex Strickland like me, who is kind of a noob at this originally, so following Rex's death, when he ended up dying, the Tyrannosaurus symbiote who had taken him over assumed his identity, basically emulated him and imitated his personality and his appearance. The symbiote showed this amazing appreciation for what its species called the light, touched by the nobility of Rex Strickland, and it would try to free ex-colleagues later on with the help of Venom. So this is not the first time they've worked before. Venom and Tyrannosaurus actually fused with each other and immolated the Grendel in a steel smelting blast furnace in a different series, and which killed both Grendel and Tyrannosaurus, though one piece survived. So we know that there is a piece of Tyrannosaurus out there somewhere. Could this be him coming back? Could this be something that is just beyond amazing? Could we see more Tyrannosaurus? Could we see just a wonderful resurrection that would help Venom? I don't believe that Tyrannosaurus is going to be the key to all of this. I still believe that Dylan is. I honestly believe that Dylan might take over as Venom. I would love to talk more about that. But what is going to happen to Eddie? Who do you think that is? And how does it kind of tie back in? Again, Donny Cates does a phenomenal job of doing this. The artwork in it was amazing. I really hope that you enjoyed this breakdown. And with all of that being said, as always, keep it casual, my friends.